Okay.
Okay, good morning, Mrs. Irma and friends. Let me introduce myself and also my group. My name is Gregorius Yuda. My second partner is Mira Dwi, and the last one is Raka Dewandaru. We are from Group 2, and we will explain you about the feminism in international politics. There's eight type of feminism according to Rosemary Tong's book about feminist thought. Number one is liberal feminism. The basic assumption of liberal feminists is that freedom and balance are rooted in rationalism. Basically, there is no difference between man and woman. Therefore, the basis of the struggle for feminists is to demand equal opportunities and right for every individual, including women, on the basis of the same extent of rational beings. Number two is radical feminism. The basic structure of radical feminism is that there is no difference between goals personal with politics. It means the element of biology and sex as a series natural human activity which is actually a form of sexual politics. And number three is Marxist and socialism feminism. According to the perspective of Marxist feminism, before capitalism developed, it was a unity of production. All human needs are to maintain his life, carried out by all family members, including women. Number four is psychoanalytic feminism. For more understand the role of sex in case of oppression of women. Number five is care-focused feminism. Discuss about things why women are connected with dependency, community, and relationship, whereas men are associated with dependence, independence, and autonomy. The thinkers assume that in society there is a difference in reality between feminism and masculine. Number six is multicultural global post-colonial feminism, focusing on the case and explanation of the position of women under men and throughout the world. The feminists are known for having strong commitment to emphasize the difference between women and in the identifying different types of women to able to work well together. Number seven is ecofeminism, stressing the point that we are not just connected to fellow human, but to other creatures such as animal or even plants. And the last one is number eight, postmodern and third wave feminism, have thought for eliminate the difference between masculine and feminine sex and woman. Try to destroy the concept of men who prevent women from positioning themselves with their own thought and not following men's thought. So, it can be concluded that the essence of the movement feminism is an awareness of discrimination, injustice, and subordination women and effort to change this effort toward a system of fair and balanced society between men and women. Feminism of the time now is a struggle to achieve equality of dignity and freedom of women in managing life and growth, both in the domestic space, in the home, and in public space in the community environment. Feminist too. The next.
The next, the social status women in Saudi Arabia. Back to the issue of limitation of space experienced by women in Arabia, issues such as women's right to drive, where women can and must work, and types of education suitable for women are all hot topics. Women's problems become the focus in any discussion about progress. A woman's right to participate fully in nation building is prohibited. Many political analysts have opined that the message was fueled by the government's stance on women's rights and role in the development of the Saudi nation. In 1979, Western influence, as some conservative religious scholars argued, were more obvious since women not only went to school but also started to enter universities. However, some historians argued that Mekasis was not all about women's freedom. It had a great deal to do with accepting to extremist views on all aspects of life. Never tells women issues become the focus in any discussion about progress. A woman trying to participate in development of nation was forbidden. In addition, after that, television stations were prohibited from broadcasting images of unveiled women. Women were also banned from conducting their own business without a male representative, preferably a family member. Next, the struggle for women's education ongoing battle. The emergence of formal public schools in Saudi Arabia that from the 1960s, when the first official primary school for girls opened its door in Riyadh. According to Mona Al-Munajid, 1997, in her book, Women in Saudi Arabia Today, the fact that the government has actively supported women's education is evident in hundreds of schools for girls and women's campus in almost all universities. The government does not limit its effort to the younger generation. Literacy courses are offered to older women. The government supports these classes financially, administratively, and technically. Women outside primary school age or older are enrolled in adult education programs. These courses are available in many, if not all, districts across the country and contribute to increasing literacy rates among women. These initiatives have created more work for female teachers. Historically, progress in Saudi society is rare, smooth, or effortless for various reasons. Some religious conservatives in charge of girls' education insisted that the time Ifat wanted to be devoted to teaching girls science, language, and liberal arts should be instead dedicated to teaching religious subjects. Ifat, Ifat succeeded in getting over a quarter of a million women enrolled in Saudi school and college by the end of 1970s. Since women's education in Saudi Arabia officially began, educational levels have increased rapidly. The number of women institutions has grown and from 15 in the 1960s, almost points out of the out that women's education started with art and education, all other fields were available only to men. The first girls' college was established in 1970 in Riyadh and admitted to with secondary level schooling. The next,
Okay. Women and education in Islamic teaching. In discussing Islamic teaching with regards to women's education, it is important to differentiate between the normative teachings of Islam and the diverse cultural practices among Muslims. One of the most common criticism against Islam is it treats women unfairly. Yet, in actuality, Islamic teachings express great respect towards women. Arab history notes that one of the wives of the Prophet Muhammad, Aisha, led an army of 30,000 soldiers, cooked for them, and helped medicate them. Aisha discussed and negotiated various issues and political matters with Muhammad, who freely acknowledged her wisdom. This is greatly appreciated among Muslims today. As noted before, Khadijah, the first of Prophet Muhammad's wife, managed a successful commercial business, was the first prominent businesswoman in Islam. Fatima, Prophet Muhammad's daughter, is cited in many historical documents as being politically active. More recently, Benazir Bhutto, a Muslim woman, was the Prime Minister of Pakistan. Many other examples in this history of Islam negate the claims of religious conservative regarding women's education. However, while some literal interpretation of Islam texts accord respect and honor to women, others justify the oppression of women. Over the years, however, certain pre-Islamic customs have reappeared and gained a foothold. Cultural customs that deny women equality have become entrenched in the Muslim culture to the point where they are often accepted as Islamic rules. Yet, many of the customs or rules adhered to today can be found in Islam texts. For example, the belief that women shouldn't drive cars or that women shouldn't pursue law or engineering. Modern Muslim feminists and human rights activists are arguing that these practices are not the real voice of Islam. Furthermore, Saudi women and men must be educated about Muslim women's contributions to various fields. Finally, progressive religious scholars must cooperate in presenting the essentially liberating Islamic teachings regarding women, especially as they relate to education. Next, progress achieved in social change for women. Despite all these obstacles, the numbers of education institutions as well as the number of women students has been steadily growing. Their illiteracy rate has been substantially declined, and they consistently do better in standardized school tests and achieve higher grades than their male counterparts. Technology is helping this trend. While traveling to other countries is not an option for many Saudi women who cannot afford the expense of traveling, through technology the world has come to them. Internet access has have followed Saudi society to view others not only in Western and Europe nations but in neighboring Arabic countries. Saudi women see Omani women as ministers, and they see that part in Qatar women are deans at many universities. Saudi women are now seeking to be participants of the parliament. Despite all the challenges, women's education in Saudi Arabia has opened new horizons for Saudi Saudi women. On the private level, it has increased women's negotiating power within family. It has also given them greater mobility. Hundreds of thousands of girls and women go out daily to either school or work on the public level. Education has made it possible for thousands of women to enter the labor force. Saudi women recently gain more freedom by using the legitimate language of the nation that cannot be challenged by Islamic ideologies, studies in the country. Using Islamic tenets, women are challenging some conservative religious scholars that if they want women to be segregated, they need to create more women-only spaces like malls and hospitals. Women's status in education in Saudi Arabia has been changing, and the Ministry of Higher Education has considered sending talented women abroad to finish their studies in high-demand subjects. Moreover, recently the government supported the election of Saudi woman, Soraya Obaid, as an executive of the United Nations. Obaid, the first Obaid, Obaid, the first Saudi Arabian executive director of the United Nations Population Fund, enjoys a reputation as a fighter and a pioneer for the education of women. In reading Saudi newspaper, one is fascinated by the number of highly educated women participating in the public affairs and requesting the more room for their initiative. Newspaper published in both Arabic and English have a great numbers of female writers. Indeed, the names of Saudi women are increasingly connected to appeals for more participation in public arenas and more respect for women in general. Furthermore, Talal ibn Abdul Aziz, the king's brother, continues effort to change the status quo and to support women participation at all levels of Saudi society. Thank you.
Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.